Well, what a weird timing. The art book, Aionios Moments, has been leaked, and with it, answers. This is huge. A lot of lore has been dropped, confirmations and stuff we almost got right. Keep in mind that this is mostly the interview section. That is the part that was leaked, so there could still be more in the character art and descriptions. Special thanks to Lugal Banda, as usual, for the quick and precise translations. Common Lugal W. Visit Sinomira to read the full thing, and more amazing Sino translation. Also, turn on the subtitles, as I haven't been able to properly set up this microphone yet, and this was kind of an emergency video. First, before getting to the lore, early character designs. We were right. This was the main Xenoblade 3 party. The most noticeable one is Mio. You can see her braided hair, skirt and stockings match the ones in this early art we saw in the first art book. Dion's outfit, ignore the hair, matches the one here too. Noah's as well, as there are 3 depictions of Noah wielding the Monado replica, one of them with his ponytail. You can see the strap under his jacket where the sword would be attached. He also had the gauntlets or globes, something that is highlighted in other Noah sections. Personally, I do like these designs. I understand others don't, but imagine if we could get them as part of the DLC. Anyways, the lore. First, a big one.
Lucky 7 is Fiora.
Aka 7.
We were so blind.
Takahashi said, and the Lucky 7, which Noah came to wield, this is not spoken about within the story, but this is Fiora that is inside it. Nobody that was present inside the room seemed to be aware. Then said, quote, some, like Shulk and Rex, appear in this world in the flesh. Some people appear as an object, and that is an expression or reflection of their traits or thoughts. How can I change this world? Think of it as like that. He also jokes about how one of the origin shards could have been Rhine. It reminds me of blades from Xenoblade 2, materializing as people and as weapons. The term blades in Xenoblade 3 is used for just materializing weapons instead. I was close, saying the main party of Xenoblade was in Lucky 7. We'll return to Fiora in a sec, but speaking of swords, En's sword had indeed logos inside it. This is a part where I was mostly wrong, with some parts right at the same time. I would say 70 to 30. I was in the idea of Melia and Nia, who had the keys of origin to be Aionios Trinity. Nia, linked to Numa, made your words. Melia, the Logos equivalent, made the Sword of the End, and End got it. I was thinking in the Sword and End being the equivalent or filling Logos, not Malos, but Logos role. However, the real answer was, what's inside the Sword of the End that End holds? That would be Logos. I mean, it's Malos, but Malos for the time being is dead, or has disappeared. As to why Malos is there, I'm sorry about this, but I can't answer it at this point. But what N is holding there, that is Malos himself. Next, Matthew's gauntlets, the fists of the end. Numa is inside there, and therefore both Kyra and Mithra. You can understand that as both of their wills being present within the gauntlet. I think that he means that the pure Trinity processor, Logos, or Malos, which is the name he identified with, is there. The Malos we knew in Xenoblade 2 died. His identity, motivations, gone. But the non-infected Logos persisted, and in the end of Xenoblade 2, when Numa enters Ion, the display shows 2 core crystals inside, and Malos, or should I say Logos, talks to Numa, asking, "So, how was it being alive?"
So tell me, how was it?
As if he didn't have the memories of his incarnation in the real world, as if he just returned to his normal self, to his computer self. But that's my partial theory on that. And about Numa, she's in the gauntlets, as both Kyra and Mithra at the same time. A said the gauntlets had a shard of origin inside it. So, just like Fiora or Rhine, Numa is inside origin metal? Close to our ghost Numa theory, but not inside origin, but an origin shard. Anyways, so N had Logos, and Noah had Fiora? What a spark! How could Fiora and Logos be on the same level, you may ask? Well, Takahashi in another section elaborates a little more. When talking about Shulk and Rex, about their age, he says, their rank is the same as Alvis and the rest of the Trinity. And this is also true for Melia, Nia, and Fiora, who wielded Mainet's Monado. In other words, if the admin handles it, anything can be done. Very close to what I've been talking about in my lore analysis series. The admin roles in Origin, the artificial Monado. Shulk and Rex both were linked to a Trinity processor, Ontos and Numa. The Queens held the keys of Origin, the artificial Monado. And I like how they remind us of Fiora and Maineth. Good thing I've mentioned Maineth a lot recently. She also had a Monado, which powered up Fiora's body. And Sansa's and Maineth's Monados were basically admin rights given by Alvis. So, anything that was connected to a Monado had some admin rights in Origin. Origin brims with the very wills of those who are unto gods. Even after Maineth left and died, later on Prison Island, we see that Shulk and Fiora both emanate that power, the Monado power, with Fiora glooming red, like Maineth.
She inherited
Her admin rights. But, theory time, this could explain why Noah and Mios surpassed the system of the world, at least for a while, or their continuous presence or incarnations even after becoming Mobius, given that the admins can manipulate the source code, and Noah had Logos, hence a Monado-like power, hence admin rights. Looking at the survey, the first thing that can be answered, I believe, is regarding the black fog. Basically, it's a sign that the worlds of 1 and 2 are approaching each other. Those signs are appearing in another world, the opposite world. For example, in Xenoblade Definitive Edition, the Fog King appeared on Shulk's side. Looking at it from a different perspective, a similar phenomenon was occurring in Rex's side, just that this wasn't portrayed. In Xenoblade 2, I believe there was a monster called the Infernal Goldo. As the worlds approach each other, a Goldo that is in the land of Moritha from 2 is being projected to the opposite world. That is the kind of phenomenon occurring. The Fog King, the Black Fog monsters, that's what that's all about. To put it simply, the two worlds have attached together partially, and the effect of that is a phenomenon in which you see the materialization of particles as black fog. And when that is heightened, annihilation occurs. And by the way, the woman on the ID card that a Goldo drops is an ordinary woman. It's not Galea. So, Rex in All Rest fought their own version of a Fog King? Future connected to a parallel story? Beings or echoes were projecting themselves into the other world? Could Logos have been involved in the solution to defeat the Fog Beasts in All Rest? Again, stuff we already knew, the worlds being close to each other. I wonder how the worlds communicated for the first time. We didn't get an answer to that. Also, Takahashi himself B confirms Galea being the Goldo.
Okay, let's remake our Aionios roles chart.
Kojima asked Takahashi if it was okay to throw Lucky 7 to the ocean, given what we now know. Takahashi responded by elaborating on the fundamentals of Origin and Aionios. You can think of it broadly as a virtual world. Think of it like a server in a virtual world. This isn't actually the case, but this will be fine. So, kind of close to how we perceive the worlds of Xenoblade 1 in the end. Okay, continue the code. And within that, there's the source code that's running. And as a way to express that, it takes the form of a sword, or maybe not. And Alvis was responsible for the general management of the Origin systems. After Origin started moving, Alvis was quietly watching as the administrator. As that was happening, Zed, a collective conscious-like entity that was a partial administrator, starts doing things on its own. Future Redeem starts when Alvis deems this unacceptable. This is basically reaffirming and recontextualizing what we knew about Zed and Mobius being the collective consciousness, taking the role of the administrator. And Origin, also in line with what we've talked about Alvis, how the future is all that matters, that he abhors stagnation, and it's in his programming to strive towards the future, reason why he abandoned Sansa at the end in favor of Shulk. And he is using more or less the same terminology that we in this channel used to compare, for example, admin roles in previous episodes. Continuing, he states, many things happened after that, but Alvis, here you have a note by Lugal Banda, not specifically stated, but I assume Alvis, or more specifically A, ends up siding with Shulk and company. So, there was no longer a general admin, and Zed occupied that position. And that's why Zed can mess with the source code, making the human lifespan 10 years and observing it because it's amusing, and things like that. Although the whole 10-year lifespan thing was a change made to the code prior to Future Redeem.
This part may be confusing, so I will summarize it in order. Basically, they boot up Origin with Alvis as the administrator. However, as we learned in the game, Alvis, or rather Ontos, needed Sansa and Maineth, or Numa and Logos, for feedback and personality stuff. So, without them, he became just a machine, thus becoming a neutral silent observer. The Mobius collective consciousness, result of all of the souls being assimilated inside, becomes a partial administrator. Maybe due to Ontos core needing feedback and them being inside? Well, they stop time and wish for the endless now. Makes the 10-year cycle by messing with the source code. Ontos is mad. There is a war against Mobius to resist it. We know that Shulk and Rex formed the Liberators prior to Alpha's awakening. Ontos keeps observing, but I guess when Melia is captured, who is one of the keys of Origin, hence Mobius gaining the upper hand, Ontos, now Alpha, decides to act. He acts based on his original programming by Klaus, evolve to the next level, create a new world, abhors the stagnant one, strives towards the future. This world has little time remaining if left in this state. You know the drill. The people of the city becomes the chosen people for this journey to the future, as they weren't responsible for the Old One's conflict. Decides to leave this world behind with the Ark, which would destroy Aionios in the process. In the city attack, his consciousness, a part that wanted to side with Shulk, who was A, was freed. Then Future Redeem happens and Alpha is destroyed. A, Shulk and Rex join the core to sustain the world, and, with no administrator, Zed takes over Origin in its entirety.
And finally, he answers the question about Noah throwing Lucky 7. He talks about Shulk A and Rex joining the core. Alvis, who was one person that was the core processor as well as the wielder of the Monado. Shulk, and similarly the wielder, no, partner of the same processor, Rex. These three sustain the world. And the main characters outside of those are lending their strength to the characters in Aionios. That is the structure. So, when Noah throws Lucky 7 into the ocean at the end, that was like saying thanks to the sword, thanks for everything. That kind of thing, something like the battle is over and the new world is starting. Thanks to you, and thus it's liberated. Returned to the world. It was returned to origin. Regarding the world of Aionios, or rather the way origin works, there is a proper reason for it. In actuality, there is this and that reason, and that's why the world is contrasted as such. That kind of thing. Now that I can't say it yet. Yeah, now it's not the timing for that. So, for now, fine to think of it as basically a virtual world. That wouldn't be wrong. To put it simply, the administrator of that world could do anything. And in the main story of Xenoblade 3, that was set. So, Alvis was the first administrator then said. He was. Will there be more? Why are they keeping information from us? There is more to how Origin works, but they can't reveal that yet? Why can't he talk about it yet? Again, I can't answer it right now. Add that to the counter. 2 and more later. There are multiple instances when talking about Logos or Origin where Takahashi says he can't answer right now. Or at this point. Will there actually be a Wave 5? Will there be a prequel game before the next big one? Or will Xenoblade 4 have Logos and Origin involved in the plot? Takahashi said regarding most questions that were written in the survey, almost all of them have proper answers. However, I'm just not answering them now, since I don't think it's necessary at this point. So, for those sort of things, well, if Monolith Soft is fortunate enough to continue creating things in the future, then I think we will be able to answer it at a certain point. What are they cooking? The phrase, the next game will be vastly different, has been used in interviews for every Xenoblade game, for Cross, for Xenoblade 2, and even Xenoblade 3. And even so, the most recent use was from the soundtrack pamphlet, when talking about the music. So, would the next game be more related to 3 than we thought about?
Speaking about the people of the city, he has this to say. After that, it's time to say farewell, referring to the ending. It's split between the Kebesi, the people of Aionis, and the Agnians, the people of All Rest. And in another corner, there's the people of the city. And those three make up the structure. But I saw quite a number of comments in the survey asking about what happened to the people in the city. So, to answer that, and this is something I believe you could also understand from the information given in the story, but the people of the city, they are life that doesn't exist in the original two worlds. And yet, they still exist, despite the origin being something like a memory machine that collected data from both worlds. This is, in fact, a suggestion that the two worlds will become one, and that these people will absolutely be born in that future. So yes, Gondor, Monica, they will be born in the new world. He also says, in this world, the world of Aionios, Nopons are external entities, residing outside the flow, so they don't have a lifespan. They live forever. I got that one right from the first lore analysis video. Okay, next.
Riku, he's sly. He's doing all of these things while completely understanding everything that's going on. When he says in the city, Meh, there's something tiny and cute over there, he's saying that on purpose, to bring attention to it, saying, there's really tiny person, look, it's different from you guys, and getting an emotional response out of them. I suppose he's a bit two-faced. His master pawn is Melia, so Melia has entrusted him with what is basically Fiora. And, of course, he's also one of Ricky's sons. Yes! Team Ricky won! However,
all this time, you were lying about this?
Riku's explanations about the Lucky 7 and its grandiose origins, Takahashi said, were convenient lies.
You're a liar!
Riku made that up. Nice talk, Riku, but why don't you back it up with a source? Takahashi deconfirms one of my theories regarding the aging of characters. Schultz and Rex haven't lived that long, have they? Origin is only a recreation of the worlds that used to exist, and if you think of them as being emulated, they should only be able to live what their lifespan is. Shulk and Rex, they defeat Alpha, some years after arriving to Aionios. Now, this part confuses me. Of course, it doesn't match our theories, but still, if they arrived at the moment of Alpha's awakening, they still lived 15 years, but showed no signs of aging. Did they arrive to Aionios from Origin when seeing the chaos that was happening with Alpha? Materializing in flesh, as people as Takahashi said. Also, if this is the case, and Fiora was in Lucky 7, it could mean that Fiora was the one that used to cut Schultz's hair, hence why his hair grew in her absence. A crucial question right there. Continue the quote, and they shift to sustaining the world after that. But how should I say this? Their rank is the same as Alvis and the rest of the Trinity. In other words, if the admin handles it, anything can be done. If the source code of that world is written as a recreation of reality, then if, for example, the lifespan was set to 80 years, when they say that they can give their lifespans to Glimmer and Nickel, they can, if they rewrite the code, but you normally shouldn't do that, because you don't know what kind of glitches will occur. In response, A says this is against the rules, and that's sort of the idea here. About golden modes, he has this to say. Golden modes, that's ascension. Note, in the context of death. Yeah, dissipation, and it turns into a form that is difficult, no, impossible, for Zed and Mobius to use. We kinda went through similar ideas along different videos, so it's nice to finally see official confirmation. And speaking of confirmation, Takahashi confirmed the hooded boy at the start of chapter 6
was a part of N, residing deeply within Noah's sight.
After all, N in the past saw that boy. So it confirms that this is like Faye, ID, the coward from Xenogears.
Takahashi closing statements.
Xenoblade was released in 2010, and some of our customers have been with us all throughout those 14 years, continuing to follow us, and that makes me deeply emotional. The only thing I have to say to that is thank you. We would like to continue to meet the expectations of those who have supported us in that way. With up to Xenoblade 3 finished, I'm sure there's plenty of customers who feel that this isn't enough. They want to know this or that, and this book isn't enough to cover that. But we have heard those voices from our customers loud and clear. gradually, I suppose, or in the future. During the creation process, we would like to respond to those voices, so please look forward to that. That would be it. Yes. So, unless the rest of the art book has more lore in the character and location sections, there's still its fair share of mysteries, like how the worlds established contact, or the questions I sent. Is the golden and silver phase of origin related to N and M, the golden and silver console? Are they admins too? Why did N's sword have the Mobius symbol even before consoles were made? I wanted confirmation of my theories. Is Ion related to Alpha's final form? We could get these answers in the Alpha art pages. Where did Matthew go? When was Melia captured in the timeline? Most importantly, how did Logos come back? And why are they hiding that information? Why are they still hiding details about Origin? What are they cooking? What do they mean with they can't answer that yet?
Edit note. Now that the book fully released, I'll make another video covering the art and the little pieces of lore that are in the art section, which are still interesting.
I want to hear your questions and answers in the comments below. That would be it for today. Have a good one. Wave 5 Operation Rainfall Cruising with Chronicles 3.5 Final Mix.